Well, Candace Owens, the world's preeminent broadcaster, the biggest broadcaster in the whole world, warned us in November that the second week of December was going to be filled with incident. And she encouraged all of her followers, which are many, that they should bookend this tweet. Well, it has been a remarkable second week of December, and it's not over yet. First of all, 3 Americans were killed. Who knew that the Americans were still in Syria in such numbers, in Palmyra? Well, 3 Americans, 2 of them soldiers, one of them a translator, were brutally killed by a security man, formerly at least close to the former head of ISIS and Al-Qaeda in Syria, President, I had to choke over that word, President al-Shara Ahmed Jolani. Well, who knows what that was all about? Reports say that the killer of the 3 Americans was about to be sacked, which means he wasn't yet sacked, but was somehow sent on a detail with American service personnel in Syria. Why are Americans still in Syria? Who are they serving? What purpose are they there for? And how many of them are now shooting ducks in the far from festival of light that is today's Syria? Donald Trump promised that there would be condign punishment, but who's going to be punished? If this man, and I've just seen a picture of him, 3 people away from President al-Shara, were rogue elements on behalf of whom? And how many rogue elephants are there operating on the fringes of al-Jolani's ISIS Al-Qaeda government in Damascus? If I was an American, I'd be asking those questions very keenly indeed. But even more keenly, I'd be asking what happened in Brown University in Rhode Island, where the fees are $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year for a university whose principal, who recently, 1 year ago, became a Jew and whose pictures with his husband were all over social media at the height of the slaughter. Who is who and what is what at Brown University? I'll tell you why I ask. Because for $100,000 a year, you don't even get CCTV in the corridors. The principal didn't know which class had been occupied by apparently a lone gunman who managed to wander the corridors of the university and make his escape to a nearby hotel where we learn, though nothing else about him have we learned, someone of interest has been picked up. Arrested is the wrong word, apparently. Well, what kind of security is in place at such a prestigious university, which has a very high proportion of Jewish students? Was nobody on guard that day? And if not, why not? And who is the person of interest? What's his name? Where does he come from? These are questions that if I was an American parent with a child at Brown University, I'd definitely be asking. But on the subject of security, let's turn to the horrific atrocity which took place today at Bondi Beach, where thousands of Jewish citizens, and of course, by the nature of Bondi Beach, many, many others, were gathered on the sands for an open-air Hanukkah festival and picnic, as they were, of course, entirely free to do. But where was the security? 10 minutes, you can see on the screen behind me, for 10 minutes, 2 men, the only name I know is Navid Akram, a qualified Salafist, that is the kind of strand of Islam professed by Al-Qaeda and ISIS, more of which in a minute, for 10 whole minutes, entirely professionally, using bolt-action firearms with ease, as if they had been doing these kind of shootings all of their lives. Bolt action, not an easy weapon to handle, but handled with ease by the aforementioned Naveed Akram. Naveed Akram swung to his left, swung to his right, maintained his posture, maintained his shape, and fired repetitively with a bolt-action gun, scores and scores of rounds, aiming deliberately and killing deliberately innocent civilian people in their swimwear on a beach. Now, I don't know who Naveed Akram was working for. I don't know if he was working for anyone. So let's deal with what I know first and foremost. He is guilty of an egregious act of mass murder of civilian people on a beach on a religious holiday. No more grave crime can be imagined. No more grave sin can be imagined. So if he really thought that he was doing this on behalf of Islam, surely he will be condemned to eternal torture in hell, in the worst seventh circle of hell. No crime greater, no sin larger than slaughtering innocent people, imagining that you are punishing guilty people. No sin worse than systematically eliminating people on a beach whose names you don't know, whose views you don't know, entirely nihilistic, indiscriminate slaughter. That's what Naveed Akram, the Salafist, was doing. If, on the other hand, he was one of the people that Candace Owens warned us about back in November, then I don't know what punishment would be suitable for such a man. I don't know if this was a false flag. I hope that we will, in time, know more about it. But if it was a false flag, then Benjamin Netanyahu would be acting exactly the same as he is acting right at this minute, this hour. Netanyahu is lecturing the Australian government that they are responsible for this because they recognized the Palestinian state. How's that for chutzpah? Netanyahu is claiming he warned Australia that the presence of large numbers of people in Australia who oppose the slaughter, genocide in Gaza was contributing to a set of circumstances that made an event like today, he said, inevitable. Well,